Well, so let me see. Let me say hello to everybody on Zoom. We have Kirk and Thomas. Thomas, I got your dashboard as well, so looking forward to that. Yep. So, folks, we're live on YouTube. If you're joining us from YouTube, welcome back. I'm glad to be back, and yeah, good to be hanging out with you. If you can hear me, just say hello. Just type in. I love hearing where you are watching us from. And this is Avi from Seattle. All right, so let's make sure that is going. So today is the dashboard showcase and makeover. And let me just bring up the web page, and that's going to be the easiest way to talk about it. So if you go to learnpowerbi.com/dashboard, and hold on, guys, how do I turn off the chime? Participants. All right, there we go. All right, so we do have. Oh, actually, maybe that's good. All right, Vinayak is on as well. Hello. So, folks, if you go to learnpowerbi.com/dashboard, there's this line which I really believe in. That in this day and age, you can't just do good work if you want good things to happen to you, right? I mean, you gotta go beyond that. You gotta do good work, but you have to tell great stories. That's just the truth. And you can fight it. You can rally against it. You're like, oh, that's not fair. My work should speak for itself. Well, I'll just say, how has it turned out for you? And trust me, I had been in corporate America for 15 plus years. And even the entrepreneur life is really not about being an employee or a consultant. Both modes, man, you gotta step up. So imagine the difference if just one person knows your good work. Maybe, right? And in my case, that was sometimes my manager, and sometimes even my manager didn't care, or I got a new manager, or I got reorg, whatever. So one person or zero versus what if 10 people knew about the good work you're doing? What if it was 100? What if it was 1,000? What if it was 10,000? And your life changes. I hope you can see that. I hope you can imagine that. So that's what this is about. This is a platform primarily for Learn Power BI students, but all of my followers as well, right? We love everybody. So for you to step up and start sharing your stories. So that's what today is about. Thank you, first of all, for all the submissions that have come in. So we have Andrzej. I'm not going to try to pronounce the last name. Actually, you know what? Leszkiewicz. Oh, okay. Skip that. Mayank Patel. I can say that one. Mustafa Drame. Dominic Chin. Leo Cat. Matthias Friedmann. Muhammad Ali. I think that's a typo. This is mine. You might see one of my dashboard for one of my clients. And Thomas Powers, who is on the phone as well. So you can see some of these screenshots. I'm going to open up some of these ones, and we're going to get started. Let me say hello to everybody. I don't want to be rude, All right, so let's do this, guys. All right, there we go. And again, I'm gonna do a quick round on So we have Kirk. Hey, Sahil. Oh my God, I haven't seen you in a long while. Sahil, good to have you on. Sahil is the Power BI jump roper, or jump roping Power BI expert. Take your pick. Thomas and Vinayak. All right, so let's say, who do we have online? Muhammad Ibrahim, he is here from Egypt. Javier is here. Johannes is here. Kaveh says hello. T. Muthukumar says hi from UAE. Dark Satari from UK. Vijay from India. Darren from Fort Collins. Pulipaka from India. Ali from Iraq. Javier from Orange County, California. Alejandro says welcome back. Thank you, my friend. Leha says hello from Massachusetts. Gerard says hi from Ireland. Got a new job on Monday. Oh, love it. Love it. Hashtag win. Got a new job on Monday in business intelligence. Thanks to your materials. You're too kind, my friend. I'm glad I can help in some way. LK Channel says hi, Avi. Steven says hi from Nigeria. And Dirk is saying, what was the book you recommended in your last stream? Oh boy, I wouldn't remember that. Positive Intelligence is the latest book that I'm recommending. In fact, it's a little bit of a segue. Positive Intelligence is going to be the official curriculum in our highest level program. Guys, that's how much I believe in this book. All right, so Silas on YouTube as well. Heather says hi from Hyder Patel. All right, great. And hi there. Yeah, hello. Hi, my friend. Shout out to you. Where are you from? I was going to say Hyderabad, but I don't know. Maybe you're not. Andres is here. Yay. Hey, Andres, I got your dashboard, so we're going to be looking forward to that. Sandrayanto says hello. And Darren from Fort Collins, Sriram, Maria, KMS BI from Denmark, Sumit, and Shiva, Sriram, and Steph from Germany. All right, man, that was awesome. All right, folks. So you know what this is about, Dashboard Showcase and Makeover. And again, right, I mean, if you want to get in control of your life, that's my goal. That's how I define success. A life where I feel I'm in control, where I have the steering wheel in my hands for better or worse. And again, guys, it's not about employee or consultant, right? I know employees who are in control of their lives. Take James Whitaker. He is an employee at Microsoft, but he's in 100% control of his life. Go Google him. He's most active on Twitter. James Whitaker. Amazing guy, right? So he's an inspiration for me. And then I know consultants who are freelancers, entrepreneurs, whatever you call them, business owners, who are not in control of their life. I don't want to be that, right? So it's not about that. It's about getting in control. And if you ask me, this is the quickest, fastest, shortest, maybe the only way to get there. Do good work, tell great stories. So that's what we're here for. And we got lots of submissions, but let's share some news, if that's cool with you guys. So where does my thing go? All right, great. So some of you know, if you read my emails, that I was on a month-long vacation in April. And you also know that how much I struggled with this concept, even though I've been working on this concept for a long time. And again, we talked about life in control. And one of the rules, as one of my coaches and mentors calls it, Vishen Lakiani from Mind Valley, he calls them rules, which are bullshit rules. It was like who made that up, right? So, but these are in our head, and if you don't let go of that, you can't move ahead. You can't really get to your goals. And again, my goal is a life of control and freedom. So one rule in my head is that hard work equals money, impact, whatever you want to call it, right? Money, impact kind of go hand in hand, right? So if I'm not working hard, I'm slacking off. I'm not being, true to my goals and all of that stuff. Now, I know that that's not true, because I've been doing this for a while now. And again, not about employee or consultant. If you look back, your life is going to move in these trajectory shifts, right? Your trajectory changes by just a few degrees. And of course, that changes your whole life, right? I mean, trajectory shifts by 2 degrees, and now you're going here instead of there, right? And that has nothing to do with hard work. That has nothing to do with, 40, 60, 80, 100, whatever hours a week, right? So I struggle with that. If you want to hear more about that and the lessons learned, then either go read my email, A Month-Long Vacation Fail, or check out my alternate channel, Power On Now. And guys, I'm going to be playing with you. That's where the good stuff is, right? So Power BI is great, but Power BI by itself, there are a lot of people who know Power BI, but this is where I share kind of the good stuff, as I call the inner journey to outer success. So you can go to youtube.com/poweronnnow, or just go to my channel and hit the Power On Now button, right? So check that out. That's for later. Just to share some of the highlights, some big things that came out of this. $100,000 in Power BI scholarship plus donation. Power BI Pioneer program. This is going to be a leadership program to support those who want to stay in their company, who don't want to leave their job. They don't really want to become entrepreneurs, freelancers, whatever. But do good, right? Create great impact. And of course, rise up with that. Again, money, impact often go hand in hand. And I just, through my training programs, have focused more on the entrepreneur side. I actually want to take that Group Pro Plus and we work together to support this other role. And a lot of people on this role, a lot of people in my Learn Power BI program are on this path, and I don't have something for them. I know there's stuff inside my head, lots of it, which can help them, but I haven't just, kind of captured it in the program. So that's the idea that came out of it. And then this idea of private events. If you want to know more, again, check the email, youtube.com/poweronnow. That has a video which talks more about that. And you'll hear more about this from me as we go on. The Power BI Scholarship, we're going to kick it off in October. Learn Power BI enrollment to my paid program, Learn Power BI, opens in October. And we're also going to invite people who are in a financial difficulty or something's going on with them to apply to the scholarship. So that's coming in October. You'll hear more from me about that. But again, I'm committed to that vacation idea. And of course, if you read my email, my goal is to take a 3-month vacation next year, and I'm committed to it. And again, right? I mean, when you think of something, think of that. Even now, when I say it, I'm like, oh my gosh, they're gonna think I'm slacking off. No, I mean, I have a feeling that the trajectory shifts that I talked about, they're gonna come in this vacation time, right? So that's the best thing I can do for my work to help my students is to disconnect, find myself, find my true inspiration, and come back fully alive, right? So, and it just makes a world of a difference. All right, so that's about me. That's what's going on. But hey, I'm here to serve you guys. And I think we're gonna start with, we're gonna maybe I'll show you a glimpse of this. We wouldn't go into this necessarily, but this is the dashboard that I'm building for my client. But this project is special. So this is about marketing data. This is about correlating marketing with its impact on sales, on leads, all that sort of stuff. And so my client here is Ian Bowman. And he had this beautiful line, and he said, Avi, only 50% of the marketing spend is actually effective, right? The rest 50% is useless. It doesn't work, right? But the key question, right, the $1 million question is, which 50%? Right? So you can see, this company is doing, sales allocation maybe to their sales staff. They're investing in search, pay-per-click, maybe some marketing budget. They're doing events, magazine. Which one is working? And often people can't answer that. So that's the goal here. But what's special about this is actually part of the real Power BI project, but a special one. So if real Power BI doesn't make sense at all, just go to realpowerbi.com. So that's a project we run a few times a year where we basically take real business users submitting their real business projects, and we match them up with members in our high-level program, right? So that's the real Power BI. But what's different about this one is that I did this one, which is not necessarily special, right? We have students who are way smarter than me. But the whole thing was recorded. Every meeting. And all of this is we're gonna make it available to our future members in the high-level program, the Pro and the Pro Plus, so they can see me go through a project. And guys, there's a lot of, right? So working on a Power BI project is art plus science. Now I can teach you science in the course, but it's kind of hard to teach the art in the course. So you can just see me. You can watch me paint. That's what essentially this is like. Oh yeah. Oh, So yeah. So anyway, that's the idea. We're pretty excited about it. So that's your first look at the dashboard. Maybe I'll come back and ask your feedback on this. Like, what do you guys think about it? But let's start with Thomas. So Thomas, you sent in your dashboard. I'm gonna bring it up, and we're gonna kick off our dashboard showcase officially. Thomas, go ahead and unmute yourself. Yeah, awesome. Great. So let's see. Yeah, that's Thomas right there. And all right, so Thomas, your model is coming up. So it says homeless trends. Tell me a bit about this project.
My client for this project, which is a real Power BI project, provides a service to agencies that do homeless care, to provide them shelter, get them resources, so that they can get into a home of their own. And so there's all kinds of factors that have an impact on homelessness,
Mm-hmm.
and these agencies often want to know um, a little bit about the people that they're providing services to, and how much and when those services are provided.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. Go from data to insight. Terrific. Oh shoot. We'll see. Hopefully, I can run without that. Um,
There's no
so so why don't you walk me through this? What's the good place to start? Kind of step by step. And hey, I can even give you keyboard and mouse control if that's going to be easier.
um,
You can see my screen, right?
yeah. uh, I don't seem to.
Or I can you can guide me through. So we started
Yeah,
intro, just
yeah. Let's
whatever.
just start there.
Awesome. So walk us through this a bit.
So I incorporated a filter for the date range that these reports reflect, and that's up here in the upper left-hand
Yeah,
corner, um,
got it.
and a little bit of explanation, kind of very top level.
Yeah, got it.
Uh, so we want to have uh, a view into some basic demographics,
Mm-hmm.
and so this multi card here is on all the different tabs, all the different pages. So that's
Ah,
common throughout.
yeah.
Um, so here we're just taking a look at, like in the number of episodes of homelessness, this uh, gives us an idea of how many frequent flyers we might have in the system, or
Yeah.
people that come in and out of services for the homelessness.
Yeah.
That's on a very broad scale.
So this is
And then
the
here,
frequency of visit part, right? Are you referring to this graph here? Like four or
yeah.
more times. Got it. Yeah.
So that gives you an idea of how many people come back,
Yeah.
um, just on a top level. There's no indication here, of course, about individuals.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other thing that is helpful is this number of enrollments by month, gives you an idea of the seasonal trends. And
Yeah.
you can see that it goes up in the fall and, through March, and then it dips, in April, May, June, July.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Got it, got it. So I'm just gonna pause you for a second, and I was thinking about it. So obviously, this is interesting data, relevant data, maybe more so in the current times, right? I mean, there's more of a focus on this. Like, gosh, how do you deal with the same issues we were dealing with, but now with the COVID-19? But uh, sometimes I've worked with so many different industries and so many different data sets. At some point, for better or worse, it all starts to look alike. I mean, it's like, oh yeah, this is like that, and this is like that. So what I'm thinking is, so folks, if you're watching this, the thought that came to me was that this isn't that much different than the way I've seen businesses approach understanding their customers. They ask some of the same questions. So in this case, well, maybe they are customers in a way, right? I mean, these homeless people whom this organization is serving. So you might think that, oh well, we don't do that, right? But again, if you take a different lens, every business has customers. I hope so. If you're running business without any customers, I would love to talk to you. And you're making money, right? So every business has customers, and yeah, I mean it's kind of the same thing. So what did he talk about? Thomas talked about returning customers. Like, do they come back or do they just one and done, right? So and what's the seasonality? And if you think about it, all of those things would apply. So Thomas, this I'm having fun with this already. Give me should we move through some of the other sheets, whichever you would want to highlight? I see quite a few at the bottom here.
Yeah, go to uh, the one at the far right.
Compare LOS. This one?
Next to that, to the
Homeless
left of that
factors.
one.
Okay. Oh, this looks beautiful, man. Even before it came up. Great. Tell me the story about this one.
So the customers for this client are the agencies that provide the services, and they will call this my client and say, I need to know how many people we had getting services from us,
Mm-hmm.
and then for a particular um, let's see, this is um, okay. So of course, to anonymize, we use numbers to replace names.
Got it.
But
Yeah.
all of this data here
Mm-hmm.
is real data, and it reflects the number of clients that an agency had. Uh,
Yeah.
so, and then it's all filtered by the demographic filters on the right, on the left.
Yeah.
So
So
you can
there's
click
a
any one of
race,
those.
ethnicity, veteran. That's interesting. Age tier. Terrific.
So, for example, on the age tier, you can go to 0 to 17 and select that one.
I think I did. Oh.
And then, and
Yeah.
now you can see that the clients between 0 and 17 have factors of substance abuse or mental health
Yeah.
issues or physical abuse. So, this tells you a little bit about the challenges that your clients are facing for the agency. That's what it tells them.
Wow. Man, is deep, and not to kind of trivialize this stuff. I mean, this is really important. But I'm wondering how would it would translate to the analogy that I used earlier. Like if you were to apply to customer. I mean, obviously, it could be services received, could be kind of key products they're buying or something like that. So this is great. Hey, I'm gonna ask a dumb question. Is this a regular slicer? And I'm not always caught up with the new Power BI stuff. Is this like a special slicer you're using, or is this just one of those built-in
I think
slicers?
it's a new, oh, I know what, if
I
you
can't tell.
double click on the background and you get a selected, um, a selection of possible uh, visualizations. And so I did that, and I just do that for ideas sometimes. And
Mm-hmm.
and this visualization, one of these types came up, and so I just continued to use it after that.
Yeah, and again, I'm not always caught up with Power BI, which, folks, isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, you can spend your time on the news cycle, or you can spend your time on the core percent. It's okay to pick up tips and tricks, but only once you have, it's always better, I say, to focus on the concepts. So, yeah, this is interesting, and again, somehow I can't figure out. Oh, it is. What is this one? Oh, I think. Oh, a smart. It looks like it's a smart filter by OKWiz. I really wish that this whole thing would change. I mean, I'm a little, kind of these icons could be bigger, kind of like how the yeah, it should be like this, a big drop down with the text and everything. Anyway, that's my private rant. So this is interesting. Awesome, great. Anything else that you would like to highlight or talk about your project overall, even not specifically the dashboard?
Um, well, I'll tell you, one of the challenges that I had with this dashboard is it would be nice to be able to generate census data. So an agency could tell how many people they actually had, or the client could say, these agencies had, all the agencies had this number of people in them, and maybe do like a histogram graph to show the trends. But the challenge I had was I had a beginning date for the enrollment, and then an end date, and that's all I had. So I wanted to be able to take that limited information and turn it into a fact table of you know, for this client on this day they were enrolled in this agency. But the challenge was I couldn't figure out how to break it all down. And my project coming up, I see a similar issue. And so I'll be looking to kind of resolve that.
Interesting. Great. So folks, as I said, I mean, this example is kind of, in this case, the business is an agency, right? I mean, most likely a nonprofit who's serving homeless people, but really these concepts apply to any business who has customers. So Thomas, what's the best place people can connect with you if they are looking for some help like that?
You can email me at tjpowers@bi-powers.com.
Awesome. Hey, can you put that in the chat window, and then I'll
Yep.
share that with the YouTube group as well. Awesome. So folks, so usually we try to do two hats. One is the dashboard showcase, which is the most important part. And again, folks, you know, if you want to get ahead, if you want to get in control of your life, if you want that life of freedom, do good work, tell great stories. So that's what we're here for. So Thomas, thank you for sharing this. Thank you for stepping up. I mean, kudos, and obviously, you know, I see the help you're providing this client. And folks, that's the thing, right? I mean, you know what they say: you can't manage what you don't measure. And it's always been surprising to me to see how many businesses are flying by the seat of the pants, right? And these are big businesses. I actually, most of my corporate career was with one of the other big companies. So Lucent, Prudential, AOL, Washington Mutual, the bank that's no more, and Microsoft. And even forget about everybody else. Even within Microsoft, you know, you peel under the covers, and oh my God, it's. I saw a lot of, you know, highly paid people just cranking out reports, manually copy pasting stuff. Now, of course, I saw that changing as I was there. I haven't been with Microsoft for a long time, and I'm sure with Power BI things have changed. But again, Power BI is just a tool. So within Microsoft, I'm not going to name any names, but certainly other businesses as well, I've seen people deploy Power BI, but it just becomes more of the same. It's shocking, right? So yeah, you can mess up even with Power BI. It's not a magic wand. But Thomas is clearly doing some great work here for his client. And again, you can kind of generalize it, and if you have kind of customers and stuff, you know, he should be able to help you, and it might be a good opportunity to connect.
Avi,
Yeah.
I know you've not been in favor of like backgrounds with pictures and stuff like that, but I was curious what you thought of this use of the picture
Yeah.
background on my intro page.
Sure. Can help you. All right. All right, folks. So I'm gonna put that on YouTube. So let's put on our other hat, which is the makeover, and go through that. So let's start with, and I swear I think I had written it down somewhere. Let me see if I can pull that dashboard showcase. When was the last time we did this dashboard? Ooh, boy, I don't know where this was. Oh, there we go. Let's see. No, man, we did something recently. Anyway, oh, there we go. Dashboard showcase and format. Oh God, sorry. So at some point, I'm going to write down the things I'm supposed to do. So I know one of them is squint test. So let's start there. So squint test, you kind of squint your eyes and see what pops up at you. And again, you might get a different answer, but for me, when I'm squinting my eyes, nothing is really popping out at me. I would say the first thing that I notice is actually this blue graph, which is odd because generally we scan from top to bottom like this because that's the way we read. So this is the lowest, priority position as far as screen real estate is concerned. But I don't know, the color is different. Maybe that's what's its colors. It's kind of like big and bold. So that's what popped up for me. And I guess the second thing I noticed was. I don't think that the rest was a bit of kind of lost. So, what does the squint test do? So again, guys, I talk about dashboard by design, modeling by design, life by design, right? As opposed to life by accident, modeling by accident, dashboard by accident. So, if everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority. So you do want to design dashboards, approach dashboards by design. So you're like, well, what is the most important stuff? What do I want them to focus on? So let's switch a little bit into what I call the power pattern. And folks who are in the course, and I think there's a YouTube video on that as well. I talk about the power pattern, which is really, really simple. And it talks about showing high-level numbers at the top, showing some breakdowns and trends, and showing a little bit of detail. And I'll try to pull up a later example as well. All right, cool. So I think you got good bones here. Like you do put the high-level numbers up top, but I think they're not like popping out. So coming back to your question, one reason might be off for the background, right? Because it's making it busy. So again, guys, it's the trade-off, right? I mean, as long as you realize what the trade-off is, as long as you understand the underlying reasoning why we're talking about this stuff, you can. I'll trust you. Don't you don't have to be like, oh, Avi says so. No, I mean, I trust you to make the right choice, but let it be an informed choice. Let it be dashboard by design, right? So again, Thomas, on your comment, I mean, that's I think the trade-off you're making, right? So obviously you want to kind of personalize it, you kind of emphasize it, and so it has its benefits, but what it's taking away from this is that it's making it a little busy, so your data, which I think should be the superstar of any dashboard report, at least operational dashboard report, is not popping out as much. So you can play with it. And right? I mean, you can just remove the background and see how it looks. But I would probably do a few other things. I would maybe make this one a little taller. Oh. That might be enough, right? And you can experiment. You make it taller, keep the background, make it taller, remove the background, keep it the same width and still remove the background. You can play with other things. You can kind of make it a different color, although generally color is, again, I mean, you should use it by design. Like, what's the intent of that color? And usually less is more. So I think the first thing that I would recommend is that have these numbers pop out. Now, the other thing that I would say in here is that these things are not all equal. What I'm seeing at the top level. Number of enrollments, key information. I'm not quite sure. Count of what is this? Count of what?
Transitional age youth. So that's
great. So that's specific to that industry. They would know what it is. Transitional age youths, adults, counts of seniors. Just a real minor thing. I don't know. Maybe do add commas in here. Just format this. I mean, that's at least my personal preference. Some people do like it. They think it's cleaner without the comma. So that's up to you. Right, so these things are very relevant, right? In my mind, this stuff isn't that relevant. In my mind, this one is FYI. It's like, oh, by the way, this is the report period you're looking for. So I would try to de-emphasize it. In fact, I think this stuff can go over here. So it's still kind of there, prominent enough that people know what they're looking at. Now, of course, and that's why dashboard design it's a little bit of art and science. So if you do move it there, the problem is that your selection date range. Now, what do you do with this? Well, I would think I would try to move it there as well, because yeah, I mean, otherwise it'll be, oh, you selected here and then it shows up there. It's kind of weird. So you might have to think about that. Or you can actually, take it out of this and just show it as like a white text here. Simple white text, right? So
Mhm.
none of this background. So again, kind of de-emphasize that. And again, what that's going to do is that it's going to elevate your key metrics even higher by removing the clutter. When people start scanning, they would see these and say, "Yep, look at that number of enrollments." So that's pretty awesome. Uh, uh, cool. Other stuff, pretty minor. And again, I mean, guys, I mean, I'll give you the guidelines, and I trust that you're gonna make the right choice. So generally, the order of scanning is this. So that's the order of importance as well. And for me, data is the star, right? And I wanna shine a spotlight on the data. Let it speak for itself as much as I can. Everything else. So we've talked about data pixels and non-data pixels in the past. So this one for me, slicers are important. Like selection is important, but it's not data. Once the slicer selection is done, then nobody really cares about it, right? I mean, oh, we know that we have selected the data range to this and this. Get out of my way. So I would de-emphasize this, and I would probably put it on this side. So again, generally the left side is more important than the right side, because again, we scan from left to right because we read this way. Obviously, in a different culture like Arabic, you would reverse. But as far as English speaking population goes, that's the rule. So I might de-emphasize that. But yeah, otherwise, I think once you kind of get this and kind of highlight this, elevate this a little more, you do have kind of breakdowns and trends. Actually, you have more of trends. So maybe I'll add one breakdown as well. And again, there's no right or wrong. I mean, I don't know what the breakdown is going to be like. You can think about that maybe. So generally, that's how I construct a dashboard. Or you can leave the breakdown for to be the detail for other sheets. That's okay too. Cool. Well, so you know what? I feel like you have some thoughts already. Like you asked me about the background. Was there
Yeah.
something else on your mind? It's like, hey, Avi, how do I do this? What's a better way to do this? Did you have any specific questions on some of the things you have here?
Well, my my thought was, um, it's a bit of a artistic approach, but it's also kind of a reminder for the people doing this work
Yeah.
why they're doing it. And so I was trying to balance, principles of
Yeah.
displaying
Oh,
data with.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So I had a crazy idea, and this may not be totally not relevant at all. But so um, so a lot of you might have seen. Let's see if I can bring it up. So if you go to my website and if you go about us, there's me, there's Marianne, there are our Pro Plus members. Thomas Bowers is right there, and looking good. And then we mentioned the Learn Power BI family. Now we're 1,000 plus now, so we can't show our faces. But I never want to forget that it's really people, right? It's not numbers for me, right? I mean, it's like, oh, 30 students enrolled this month or something, right? I mean, these are real people. And we go out of our way to act that way, right? I mean, we do personal welcome calls with students. I get them on the phone. I spend a whole day talking to them just because I never want to forget whom am I serving. So I think what you're saying is really powerful. And again, it's a crazy idea, but imagine, and you know what helps better than a picture? Oh, is a name. So actually, I don't know if you can pull that off because there is the confidentiality thing as well. But just imagine for a second. Just imagine for a second that I built a Learn Power BI dashboard, and whatever photos we could find, I put that in there. But I'm not going to show all of them. I'm actually going to show a randomly selected photo and their name. So just think about it for a second. So imagine I'm looking at my company's dashboard, which is showing number of enrollments, all of that sort of stuff. Is it going up and down? The breakdown, the trends, all of that. But on a corner, right, on a corner, it's showing me a real person's face with their name. and it goes, that's John. And of course, it changes randomly. It's like, oh, that's Shri or something like that, right? So, man, that would be such a powerful reminder for me, right? So yeah, there could be other ways that you can explore where you still remind them of that purpose without the background. Or you keep the background. Again, right? I mean, no right or wrong. It's just that you understand kind of the trade-offs and say, yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I understand the trade-offs and I'm going to go for it because, as you said, I want it to be a reminder for them. Awesome.
That helps. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Let's go back to some of this stuff. So again, folks, so of course, my guru as far as visualization goes is Stephen Few, and the book that I would recommend is Information Dashboard Design. He has other books, newer books. That's the only one I've read, and it is phenomenal. So we talked about data pixel and non-data pixel, and the goal is to either eliminate or de-emphasize all non-data pixel so that your data pixels can shine, right? They can shine bright. So generally, we kind of any background and that sort of stuff is non-data pixel. But again, as I said, I mean, no right or wrong. You gotta evaluate what works best for you. And yeah, background generally is either white or off-white. I'm not going to go into kind of the dark theme dashboards because frankly, I never built one. So yeah, if you can build that nicely, then go for it. Yeah, but generally, if you're not going for a dark theme, white or off-white is good because it's kind of neutral. It washes away and folks can focus on their data. And again, I would say the same thing. The slicers are important, but once they're selected, they you don't really need them. So I would put that in the less important position, right? So the left side, this is the prime real estate. So I would let the data be here. So I would just shift the graph here and put the slicers over on this side. And yeah, otherwise it looks good. Now, of course, the cool kids, so again, that's a trade-off too. But some of the cool kids, what they do is they make this a panel. How many of you have seen that? If you've seen that on YouTube, just type in a yes or a Y, where the slicer, or maybe you've done that, right? So where this becomes a panel where you click to open it. Thomas, have you seen that, or I don't know, seen any videos? Yeah, so that is done through bookmarks. I kind of have a love-hate thing for bookmarks. They can be a lot of work, right? So to do this thing, you would have to do a lot of things, and it's good. The effect is great, but one problem that I have is that since it's a lot of work, it's sometimes hard to fit it in with the agile approach that I like to go with. So agile is like, well, we go fast, we make mistakes, we fix them. But bookmarks take so much time that I usually leave that fancy stuff till the very end when we really understand or the report has stabilized. Because otherwise, I put these filters and then they come back and say, oh no, Avi, I don't need this one, I need that one, I don't need this one, I need that one. And oh god, I mean, you should redo everything in the bookmark. It's a little bit painful. So so bookmarks, you can kind of have it pop out, have it pop back in. That's up to you. And again, that's a trade-off because by putting it right there on the sheet, it's right there, everybody can see it. If it's a pop-out, well, then either you have to train them to click on it or they might stumble on it themselves or something. So it's not always ideal, but sometimes when you're pressed for space, like you're trying to show a lot of other things as well, then you can use that trick. All right, awesome, Thomas. So this is awesome. Keep up the good work, and folks, you have his contact. Reach out to him, and yeah, Thomas. So I'm pretty excited about this because again, I mean, this seems like a specific solution, but in my mind, this is a very general problem that every business has. That hey, how do I understand who are my customers that I'm serving? How am I serving them, right? In what ways, and what is their behavior, right? I mean, are they coming back multiple times and so forth? Cool. This is great. All right, folks. So let's move on. Let's see. So I highlight some feedback here. So Silas is saying, I think the colors are a little confusing. Slicer pink color matches a legend. That's a good point, Sile. On the graph, and my head says they're related values. Oh, bingo. I like how you give a brief of the report with the text box, but that looks bulky. All right, great. So Silas has a good point. So again, guys, we were talking about dashboard by design. So I'll totally admit, color is something that I find challenging. Because again, I got the lesson from Stephen Fuse that everything should be by design, so use of color should be intentional, right? Uh, but I can't figure it out. So I've been accused of creating this shades of gray dashboards, right? So you look at my dashboard and sometimes like just shades of gray, which again because I'm afraid to step into color because if I do step into color, I'm like, oh god, I have to be very intentional. Like, why is it this color and so forth? So maybe you don't. Maybe I'm being too paranoid. But Sahil, all that he's saying is that again, colors they carry a meaning. And what's happening in this dashboard is that this color right here in the slicer also matches the color of one of these elements. And again, our brain, what is it? What is our brain? What does our brain do? In a big way, our brain is a pattern matching machine. It's looking for patterns, right? I mean that's how we kind of go through life, right? It's like, oh yeah, look at this. I've seen this before. I know how to react, something like that, right? So Silas is saying that, yeah, I mean, his brain, and I guess all of our brains, is maybe at some level, maybe a conscious or subconscious level, trying to connect these two colors. Like, oh, when I click this, and of course that's not the intent. So I think if I go here on the other sheet, the slicers were just a different color. So that's a good tip. Thanks, Hal, for that. Silas saying he also uses panels quite a bit. Oh, I think the pop-out panel slicer saves a lot of space. Shaz, welcome aboard, mate. Uh, Phyllis. So Phyllis is asking a question. So Phyllis, this one is pretty focused on dashboard showcase and makeover. Uh, Hopefully somebody in the chat can help you. We do run a Q&A session once a month as well. I think that's the fourth Friday. But by the way, guys, if you just go to my channel, youtube.com/PowerBIPro, it has the schedule, so upcoming live streams. And we got the Power On show coming up, and we have the Q&A after that and so forth. And we'll probably schedule some more. All right, let's move on. Is there somebody on the phone who had sent in a dashboard? You get first dibs. Okay, otherwise, let's go on YouTube. And yeah, I did see Andrzej earlier, but let's see if Andrzej, Mayank, Mustafa, Dominic, Leo, Matthias. Oh, Matthias, I think.
I'm on the phone.
All right, Matthias, awesome. So Matthias, tell us a bit about yourself. Let's start there.
Well, I'm from Germany, and I am in the data planning business quite a long time. I'm a pro in Excel.
Mm-hmm.
I do have some knowledge of Power Query, good knowledge on Power Query,
Yeah.
and basic knowledge of Power BI, and I joined your program in January.
All right.
So that's already a long time, and I noticed this that nothing really would change. So I participate, for example, on your Facebook group a lot.
Yeah.
Try to answer questions and contribute,
Mm-hmm.
but I would always stay on the Power BI side. I would always stay in my realm of knowledge.
Yeah.
And also in the sales data area, which I know very well.
Yeah.
And
so sorry if you said this earlier and I missed it, but are you working in a company or are you
yes,
independent? Okay.
Yes, in a company.
Tell me a bit about your company. I mean, you don't have to say the name, but industry size, something like that. Give us some sense of where you are.
Yeah, it's an automotive supplier. It's one of the biggest.
All right.
Worldwide. Mm-hmm.
Terrific. How
I'm
long?
responsible for strategic planning.
Terrific. How long have you been there, and how long have you been in this role, strategic planning?
Oh, um, 20 years in this company. Yeah.
All right. And
And I'm
yeah.
doing, well, I started in sales, doing sales work. I'm still in sales, but now I'm concentrating on the numbers. And I'm doing
Yeah.
this a long, long time already. Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. And what's the word on Power BI within the organization? I mean, is it one of those places where they bought, everybody has Power BI and now they're encouraging everybody to use it? Or is it in pockets? What's going on?
I think there are some enthusiasts in that company. Anyway, it's a very big company, so
Yeah.
you obviously have specialists and pros there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but so I was surprised that they introduced it on a large scale this year. So
Yeah.
it's I didn't assume they would be that progressive. It took them a long, long time to come to Excel 365. Yeah. So
Wow. Yeah, I think it's
that's
helping in a big way that Microsoft is pretty much giving Power BI away, right? I mean, if they buy Office, which most organizations do, most of them, under the right license, they get Power BI for free, and then they say, well, might as well use it, right? So that's a good thing, I think. That's a good thing. But again, Power BI is not a magic wand. I've seen it become just another BI tool, and kind of all the same challenges that I had seen the before Power BI world, kind of the Excel hell that people talk about and all this stuff. You can get a version of that with Power BI, but yeah, nothing against the tool. I love the tool, and it does offer an option. But yeah, it's gonna take people, right? So guys, right? I mean, at the end of the day, frankly, the more I've gotten into technology, the more I feel it's about people, right? So at the end of the day, it's down to people like Matthias and the other enthusiasts that he talked about. So Matthias, a little bit of segue, but yeah, mate. I mean, I talked about that just at the beginning, but yeah, I feel like I have not served this population, right? The Power BI pioneer, kind of the leaders. And one thing that I would say, kind of a caveat here, is that leadership has nothing to do with title, and that's not coming from me. That's Simon Sinek, who talks about this at great length and brilliantly. Leadership has nothing to do with title, and yeah, I mean, we've seen that. We've seen folks who were CEOs and CFOs, and they were leading this charge of Power BI and kind of transforming the company. And we have seen people who were working in the call center. So, so yeah, I mean, I would certainly, uh, hey, encourage you, invite you, challenge you, Matthias, to kind of step up and say, hey, how can you create that bubble of impact around you, around your team, and then go beyond that, maybe even, right? So, all right, so you talked a lot about sales and strategic planning, but the screenshot is HR consultation. So I'm a little confused. What's going on here? I mean, is it a HR dashboard? What is this?
okay. Yeah. So this is not nothing to do with my work. So there are two
Mm-hmm.
aspects. Obviously, it would be a little bit difficult to bring in my work here. I'd
Yeah,
like to,
yeah,
but the to make it to blur
yeah,
it out and so on, it's quite some
yeah, yeah.
some effort. And uh, and
Sure.
if you blur it out, you don't really see the story anymore. So
I
I
know it
don't
can be
think that
challenging.
this is a good thing. So um, this one here is from is data from Enterprise DNA Challenge.
All right.
hmm
Okay, so the data set
And
is there, but you built the dashboard, right?
yes, the data is from them. Well, it's not real data.
Yeah,
It's definitely not real data.
got it.
But so and the good thing is it's out of my normal stuff. Yep.
Oh
And
yeah. Yeah. Oh,
so
absolutely. Love it. Yeah. Sometimes it definitely helps to kind of step out and kind of helps you look at things in a new way. And often you can bring some of it back. I mean, you approach a new problem in a new way, but then you find the connections. Like, oh, I mean, I can take this thing and use this for my own strategic planning or something. So great. So great. So great. So why don't you walk us through the dashboard, like how you see it, and
mm,
yeah, let's start there.
okay, can I No, I cannot share.
Oh,
So
you can share if you like. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, would that be easier?
um, might be. I don't know.
Yeah,
So
let's hold on. Actually, yeah, you should have. Oh, there we go. I think I had to stop sharing. So see if you have a screen share button on your side. Should look like
yes,
a
I
green
have, but
button. Great.
mhm.
Is it working? Try that.
See my screen?
Not yet, but it might be coming up. No joy yet. So you're clicking the green share screen button, right?
Oh, wait a minute. I do think that okay, got it. Here we are.
Okay,
It's
now it's
blue.
coming up.
So green was first, and I didn't
Oh,
do the
okay.
second step. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Yep.
Yeah.
So, oh wow, yeah. So you have it in Power BI. Great. So yeah, walk us through.
So, well, first of all, I think I'll try to explain about what the data is showing. So it's a HR consultation insights. So there were interviews done from HR for all the employees about certain policies. So working hours, pay policy, health,
Yeah,
safety, and performance. So
got
there
it.
are 5 policies, and they always had 2 interviews, one at the beginning for the policy introduction and one at the end. Okay. When this was done is available, but it doesn't really matter. It's more important that there is a beginning and an end. So, and they are testing the satisfaction for all of these. So each employee is always twice interviewed for each policy. And the data shows regions, and it shows also which kind of level or position you have. And the data is available on individual level, but normally you would do this kind of analysis only on an aggregated level. So you don't
Makes
really,
sense.
so at least in Germany, you wouldn't be allowed to do this on an individual one, and nobody would definitely nobody would participate if they are singled out because they have a negative opinion. Yeah. So
Makes sense.
this aggregated level evaluation is seen here, and I am quite content with this. It's a one-pager. Of course, you could go and have different slides here, but I think it's in one page, all the things you need. And you can go even here and see here then which policy, which position, and which region which kind of satisfaction there's, and which kind of change from first to the second. So you can go there on this and can see on this level or what you need quite conveniently. And then there is, well, let's start from the structure. There are the key figures on the left, top. So how many employees, how many policies, the change in the satisfaction, and the end result of the satisfaction. So 0.4 means it's quite neutral.
All right.
And
what was the scale from what to what? Or is there a scale?
Well, there is somehow, because if you have 5 policies and you are 5 times negative, then this is the maximum negative you can get. And if you are 5 times positive, then 5 +5 is the maximum positive value you can get. So it's quite easy. I think it's
Yeah. But
so it's either you're dissatisfied, you're satisfied, or you are indifferent, neutral. These
yeah.
3 levels are there.
Wait. So I'm just curious. What did the survey look like? Like, is that really the 3 options that they had for different questions?
Yes,
That's it.
3.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. Um.
And it doesn't. So I do have this kind of surveys regularly in my company.
Yeah.
We have more levels, but actually it doesn't really matter. So you are normally, well, I'm not an HR expert, but if you're looking for service, whether
Yeah.
it's HR or something else, you're looking for the really satisfied people and the really dissatisfied people. That's what you
Yeah. But
want to
really,
investigate.
yeah. So obviously this is made up data. Uh.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to talk about that because so if on the survey there were really 3 options: dissatisfied, neutral, or satisfied. That's not a very good survey, and I know. I mean, you're working with this data, right? So generally, when it comes to satisfaction, what I've seen is the one that is my favorite. I think it's what's called NSAT, net satisfaction. And you can Google that, and the Wikipedia page and all that stuff is pretty good, or you may already know about it. I didn't until I started in Microsoft, and they had so for the net satisfaction, one of the things is that the survey question has to be from a scale of I think 0 to 10, or maybe 1 to 10, something like that, right? So it's 1 to 10, and then net satisfaction has very specific rules. So this is the first rule that the scale has to be from 0 to 10 or 1 to 10, and then there is a rule on how to calculate satisfaction. So you know what? Hold on, let me just Google it. So I think it's really satisfied folks and sat. Oh, this is interesting. Net satisfaction. I don't. It's pretty popular in Microsoft, but I don't think it's a Microsoft metric. Uh, Google is suggesting it is. Okay, let's see. Oh, well, this one is saying 4-point scale. Yeah. Well, maybe there's some debate, but basically, you take the rule responses and then you take the percentage of very satisfied, which is I think yeah, this isn't quite right. Let me see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure in Microsoft it was a scale of 1 to 10, and so very satisfied you took like I think 9 and 10, or maybe 8, 9, and 10, and then you took. Oh boy, hold on guys. Whew, what was that? And then you take the dissatisfied one. So basically you're ignoring the neutral ones, and then you take the satisfied minus dissatisfied. So and what that does is it gives you a specific scale, right? But the way you're doing it, Matthias, are you like, if there are like 5 negative responses, are you just adding them up? Are you summing them up? Or does it become like -5?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a
Okay,
problematic
about the
approach.
scale, just the scale. So you mentioned now until 10. I have seen a lot of times, even now with the polling for the election in the US. So it's quite normal that you have 5 stages
Yeah,
from
but I think this
very
approach takes.
dissatisfied, just
Yeah,
dissatisfied, neutral,
yeah.
satisfied, and very satisfied. This is quite normal.
Well, that is one
For
approach. Although, again, for what's called NSAT, if that's what you're after, NSAT is kind of awesome because it's a standard approach, and then you can compare the number that you get for your organization with other organizations, which is publicly available in many cases. For example, we did an
Mhm.
NSAT for our Learn Power BI thing, and well, at the time, we maybe we should run it regularly. we came up better than Apple. And I'm like, dang, that's good, right? That was a specific approach. But I feel like there's something off. Like if you get -5, -1 responses, I don't think you can add them up. I mean, you should do kind of an average or something. Anyway, we're gonna park that for now, like how the calculation is going on.
Well, I do think that it is very important that you see how many people are
Yeah, but those are two
dissatisfied.
different things. Like the
Yeah,
overall rating cannot be calculated by, I think, a sum. I think it has to be either an average, which is a mean, or a
mhm,
median, or some other approach, right? I mean,
okay.
percentile or something else. And again, you're kind of handicapped in this. If there are only three options, it makes it feel weird. So let's park that for a bit. I mean, that's,
Yep.
let's focus on
So
the
I
visualization.
mhm.
Walk me through this happy versus unhappy employees at the top corner. I'm
Yeah.
frankly having a
And
lot
this
of
is
trouble
probably
trying to
also
understand,
answering
absorb
your,
it. Yeah.
yeah. So this is also probably answering then
Okay.
your question. So I have to live with the data I had. So
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
the data given. And I have to evaluate. And I think it's very important that you see how many people are satisfied and how many people are dissatisfied, or
So
let's
that's the
say here,
count.
happy and
So
unhappy.
so for the first, let's focus on kind of the all consultations, and
Yes, this is
and
the average of the
so the first and
5.
second survey are really kind of before and after, right? I mean,
Exactly.
right. So in the first survey, there were 28 uh,
Satisfied.
satisfied, -35 not satisfied, and the net
Exactly.
number was -7.7. Am I reading it right?
Yes.
Great. You know what? This is
So
this is
that's
making sense. And then we had a few more survey takers the next time. We had 35 survey takers in the after.
no, no, no,
Uh,
no, no. We had
oh,
35
35 positive.
satisfied.
Yeah, I got it.
Yes.
And 36 not satisfied. And the net score moved quite a bit up from negative
Yes.
7.7 to, well, almost neutral, negative 0.4. And that is a
Indeed.
trend line. Okay, got it, got it. So again, this is one of those things which it took me a little bit to understand, but maybe that's just because I'm new to this data. Like if you were sitting down with a team of HR who runs a survey all the time, maybe they would get it right away. So I don't think that was the visual fault or anything. That's good, but I will say that I love this one because it backs in a lot of information. And dashboard design is all about using the screen real estate, treating it like real estate, like you were a real estate mogul and you had to decide what to build where. So any visual which can communicate more information in an effective manner, right? I mean, effective is key because you can't just back in everything and say, oh yeah, it has everything, and then it's not easy to the user is overwhelmed. So I think this one is working really well in my opinion. It's pretty compact, but it's conveying a lot of information.
Yes, and I'm very proud of it. Okay. So I think it's brilliant. I've seen other solutions on this.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
the thing is, for example, if you're bringing in the middle layer, it doesn't transport the message anymore. So this is really good.
great.
It's compact and it's really showing
Love it,
what's
love
important.
it, love it. So let me ask you a few questions. So I do see that there were different surveys, or maybe different survey sections. Maybe there were sections in the same survey which talked about working hours, pay policy, health, safety, and performance. Is that
Yes,
right?
so there are 5 interviews, well,
Got
5
it.
interview series, 5 policies.
Yeah.
So they were separate.
Are they
But
all?
always
Uh
there
huh.
was a
Yeah.
starting point and an end point. Always
Okay.
2 interviews.
Got it. And you're also showing kind of an overall all consultation, and then you can do specific one as well. All right, great.
Yes.
So let's take a step back, and so this is great. Hey, thanks for walking us through. Let's. Oh, so somebody's asking. Vinayak is asking. That's an awesome visual. So the happy versus unhappy. What visual are you using for that?
It's manual. It's
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. Wait, you gotta spill some of that, mate. So, God, I mean, help us out. I mean, is it like Matthias proprietary and nobody else can build it,
No,
or
no,
do
no.
you think you're secure?
It's
Like,
not a custom visual. It's something you can build, but I did it manually. I mean, it's
yeah.
well,
But just
obviously I
curious,
didn't.
if you expand the visualization pane, oh, okay, I see what this
Yes.
thing. So this is a single one. Got it.
Yep.
But what type is it? So if you click on that one and expand visualization, what would I see? Uh, is it a combo chart? Or yeah, okay, got it. So each one is a combo chart, right? That I think that's what the thing is called.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Great.
Yes.
So thanks, so Vinayka, I'm glad you asked that. Um, Perfect.
No,
So
it's a
he,
good question, and
yeah.
I'm not happy. Well, it's not very flexible.
Hmm.
But for five, well, now the plus the all, it's doable.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah. This makes sense. Awesome, great. So hey, thanks for walking us through. Are you ready to switch gears a little bit and uh, go to the makeover part? I mean, I'll give you kind of my thoughts, and we'll go from there. Sounds good? Ready
Okay.
for that? Okay, cool. And I might request keyboard just so I can point at things for you. So, folks, we're going to do the same way. We're going to start with the squint test. Actually, before that, hold on the squint test. Let's talk about what Matthias said, is that I kept it on one page. You may not realize it, but that's actually really important. Really important. So again, my guru is Stephen Few. If you want to know more, well, I do cover some of it inside my course and some on my channel. But if you want to go to the source, that's his book, Information Dashboard Design. But why is having everything on one screen important? And I'm not saying don't have multiple pages, but understand why it's important and understand the trade-offs. So the thing is that our human mind. So what is the purpose of dashboard? It's really to go from data to insight, right? That's the only thing. It's for humans. And again, folks, let's put AI and all that stuff up and away. And there's going to be a future where human intervention maybe would not be involved or needed, right? I mean, machines would monitor everything. Machines would figure out what needs to be done, and they would go in and do it, right? And I don't know what we're going to do then, but forget about that for now. Right now, a lot of the stuff is frankly for humans, for us. Feel special, right? So, but that's why it has to work with human limitation. It has to work with the human brain. Now, how does human brain work? Now, at a time, we're only about to keep 7 to 9 pieces of information in our head. And that's the reason, well, maybe 7 to 10. That's the reason we have phone numbers, which are 10 digits long, right? We can all remember them. Now, the funny thing is that these are pieces of information. It doesn't mean numbers. For example, the graph at the bottom right, the satisfaction level by position interview. This is a graph. This, we can encode it as a single piece of information, right? So that's why sometimes graphs can be very effective, right? So we and again, we might encode a single point. For example, so again, if you look at this graph, what's the most obvious thing? What's shouting out at you? And again, it's intuitive. Don't like overthink it. So I'll just say what's shouting out at me is that, man, there's something different about customer assistant and advisor. And again, even forget about the labels. Forget about the labels. I know just looking at the numbers that there is something different about these two guys and these two guys, right? And of course, if I dive in deeper, I can understand that the first line is the first survey, the second is the second survey. So customer assistant had the biggest gain. I can see that visually. So now I'm going a little deeper. I'm trying to understand it, right? But I understood it. I got something visually right away. And then advisor is different because it flipped. Boy, oh boy. I mean, nothing else flipped, but this one flipped. It got worse from the first to the second one. So again, I mean, that's a logical part, but again, brain in an instant would capture that information that these two are somehow different. And that can be one piece of information. Right, so when I say 7 to 10 pieces of information, it's not numbers. It's not like, we can remember 7 numbers. No, it's pieces of information, and graphs and visuals can be packed into one visual. So the challenge is, and again, if the goal of the dashboard is to help the human go from data to insight, until the machines are there to help us, right? Tell us what to do. Then what happens is if you go from page to page, we can't do that as effectively. Page to page, we lose almost all of the information. We retained only 7 to 10 bits, and then we go to the next page, and then so imagine you're showing sales on one page and budget on the other. God help the person who's trying to find the correlation between those two, right? I mean, it'll be hard. So obviously that's an extreme example. So there's value in putting, kind of creating this dashboard with a single screen. Again, not to say that don't do multiple, but do it with intention, do it with design. It's like, hey, this is the purpose of this page. This is the purpose that's trying to serve, and I'm going to put in an effective manner whatever is relevant to that purpose. So Matthias, man, full points to you for kind of this single page dashboard. All right, cool. So now we're ready for the squint test. So let's just do the squint test, and I actually do squint my eyes, and I'll say this one was easy. So the white thing is really popping out, which is odd because the high level numbers are so big and bold, but this white is just taking over. And again, dashboard by design or dashboard by accident. So again, I mean, somebody can say, oh, that was my intent. I want the user to focus on this first. But if that wasn't the intent, then I would do something about this. So, right. So Matthias.
Okay. You ask whether it was intentional or not. Well, I'm not completely happy. Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and hey, BI is never done. Trust me. I mean, I look at my own dashboards, and I'm sure, right?
I'm not completely happy because it's a table, and I think it's important to have this table. I'm happy with this table, but. It's really too much shouting out here. This is the main. It's not really the main, but it does give a structure to this.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's good.
Great.
I'm not completely happy, but I have to live with this compromise, I thought.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. So, here, I'm going to throw a few different things at you. And again, there's no right or wrong. There's no like, Avi's way or high way. No, I mean, you are in charge of this. Now, obviously, this was like an exercise, but you're going to take this, and obviously, you've already been building the dashboards for your strategic planning work and sales work and all that stuff. You're in charge. You're the expert. And again, I'm going to trust you guys that you're going to make the right decision. My goal is to give you those kind of trade-offs, that you understand that, and so that you make those decisions kind of by design, not by accident. So I'm going to throw a few things at you, and then again, you can kind of do as you wish. So let's go back to the power pattern that I talk about. How do I unselect it? Okay, there we go. Is it working? Okay, there. So with the power pattern that I talk about inside my course, and I think there's a video on YouTube as well, which start with the high-level numbers and then show breakdowns, trends, and a little bit of detail. And usually, what's the order of scanning? It's left to right and top to bottom. That's the way we scan because that's the way we read. So if you think about it, that's the way I usually lay out these elements as well. I start off right at the beginning with high-level numbers and then do some breakdowns and trends and so forth. And I usually leave the detail for the end. So that's maybe one thing to consider. So if you think about it, man, graphs, we understand graphs, at least well-designed graphs, in what's called the pre-attentive level. The whole customer assistant thing that I'm talking about, it doesn't even hit the brain. Something before that even it tells us that there's something off, right? So we understand a pre-attentive level, and that's amazing. That's how fast they are. As soon as you give me a table, as awesome as they are, and hey, people love table, and trust me, I've worked with finance people all the time, and they're like, Avi, give me a table. I'm like, oh, God. But the fact is, think about how we read a graph. So again, I grasp this instantly. The customer says something is off, advisor something is off, right? Table, we don't process it that way. It's none of that pre-attentive. Forget pre-attentive. We do very serial processing, right? So think about how you're going to read a table. You're going to go, pay policy, customer assistant south. Oh, the change was dissatisfaction. And again, think about this. I mean, you've seen people add color, right? I mean, how you can add data color and data labels. Now that changes the game altogether because now we can read it much quicker. We can say, oh, that is red. That needs my attention, right? So you see how this game works. So this table, as far as I'm concerned, it's a little bit of a detail. I mean, maybe they need it. Maybe it's very relevant, but I would keep that in the lower corner, kind of bring it late into the game. So maybe I'll just, for one, what I'll do is I'll swap this guy up, right? This graph up and put the detail lower. That's one option, right? And of course, so if you think about it, let's, so of course he's using a blue background, his blue theme, which looks beautiful, by the way, right? And in this case, white is actually being used as a highlight color, right? So he's using it to highlight. So again, what we talked about from a Stephen Few's approach, data pixels, non-data pixels, and the goal is to emphasize the data pixels and de-emphasize everything else. So right now, because of the general blue background, the white actually is really popping out. So of course, so either we eliminate it or de-emphasize it. So I'm going to give you both options. And again, you can experiment and you can choose, right? So again, the first thing that I said was that move this graph to the top, bring the tables lower.
Let me just tell you about the position. Yes.
Yeah.
I'd like to have the lower level on the top. Well,
Yeah.
in the middle, sorry.
Yeah.
That would be ideal. But you can see that the heart of it, which is on the top right, is too big for this. So you would have an offset. It's not really, the space is not there.
Yeah,
so,
got it. Yeah.
So
Perfect. So again, I mean, that's how dashboard design goes, right? I mean, kind of balance different factors. So acknowledged. But let's talk about the de-emphasizing part. So maybe there may be three options. Maybe there are a lot more, right? So one is, of course, is that to
let me tell you what I think might work.
Yeah.
So just make it blue, and then
That's
obviously
one
it's not
option.
popping
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And perhaps make a frame around it.
That's
I'm not
another
sure.
option. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect.
That was-
I think you were spot on. So so again, as Matthias said, he can remove the white background and just see how it works. And again, sometimes you just try it and see how it works, right? So that's one option. Next is you can do a frame. And one of the things that Stephen Few talks about is this idea of continuity, which is, if you think about it, you may not need a whole frame around it. What you can do is just have a line at the top sometimes, or just a line at the bottom, or both, or sometimes a line on the left. And just a single line would set it apart, would tell the user. So if you want to clue the user that, hey, this is something different, this is something special maybe, so you can put a box around it, or you can do a fill inside it. That's what you're doing right now, right? I mean, you're using white background as a fill, but you have other options. Instead of filling it completely white, you can just do a border all around it. Or you can go even lighter. Instead of a full border, you can just have a line to the left or line to the top, bottom, something like that. Right? So you can experiment with that. And of course, you can remove all of that.
I think a line at the top and at the bottom would be probably the
right?
best.
So, so you're getting the idea, right? I mean, and that's what's most important, that you get the general approach. That, yep, I want to de-emphasize it and have a few options, and you can try it and see how it works. So that's great. So I think once we solve that, then I love the big bold numbers. And guys, I mean, every single dashboard that I built, it follows the power pattern, and I start with the big bold numbers. I love doing that. And then you and what you have here. So guys, obviously you realize that Matthias is pretty skilled at this. And of course, Mayank was talking about this. I loved this visual, but there is something really sophisticated over here as well. And you may not have realized it. I don't even know if Matthias might have realized it. But this
I made it.
yeah. But I don't know. I mean, if you were completely intentional, or were you, so again, it's that art and science part, right? And some people can do the art even without knowing the science.
2 days for building this. So.
Oh man, that's phenomenal. 2 days and this. If I was a client and I was running an HR firm or something, I would be like, oh, Matthias, thank you so much. So guys, what this is I'm not sure if it's exactly that, but the words that's coming to me. I think it's called multiples, and it's not quite that, but the idea behind multiples is a shared axis. All right, so again, I mean that's the kind of science. So if you think about this is brilliant, because the graph over here, satisfaction level, you realize that it's a different graph, but it doesn't have its own axis because it doesn't need it, because it's sharing the axis with a completely different graph. And why does that work? because they're perfectly aligned. And of course, Matthias did that intentionally. Oops, sorry, I keep doing that. Right, so that is brilliant. Right, so that's again the whole goal of de-emphasizing non-data pixels or eliminating them. Well, guess what? The axis labels are not considered data pixels. Right, this bar is a data pixel. So yeah, by eliminating a whole axis, that's awesome. So again, think about it at real estate. So that I think is just brilliant. I love that. And again, he uses the same thing by number of employees. So, and it just makes it so easy. There's no confusion. It's just intuitive. It's easy to read. This one was brilliant. This one was a slightly different one. Again, it took me some time to absorb it. But again, I think it packs a lot of information in a small stuff. And once you look at it, you can kind of go from data to insight. So I think that's pretty awesome. The one thing that I have objection against, and I'm going to hide behind Stephen Few for this one. My understanding, Matthias, is that there's some kind of a rule that a line chart cannot be used for the axis at the bottom for this cannot be categorical.
Yes, and it's not a line chart.
But it's looking like one, right?
Yes, I understand, and it's in your course. I know this.
Yeah.
But it's intentional, and I tell you why. Because you immediately saw that
I see
the
what you're
advisor
saying. It helps the trends pop out.
Immediately.
Oh my God, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. So, folks, again, that's where there are rules, but obviously, I'm realizing more and more that Matthias is at a pretty awesome level. I hope you are too. And that's exactly what I was talking about with you folks. That it's not like Avi's way or Stephen Few's way. You understand the rules, and then you gotta make a choice in kind of the real world. So awesome. Well, yeah, that's. I'm happy with that, and you're right. The lines do make the trend pop out a little more, and I can kind of agree with it that it's not really a line chart. It's just kind of connecting the dot. It is really these bars. But
yes, let's move this. For example, here there's dissatisfaction in the West, and it's on your side now. But if you click on it, you see it's moving, and you immediately see the first level, the first interview, and the second. It's all somehow linked together by this dotted line. So this is really.
I don't know, but maybe there is a different way, and maybe we're limited by kind of Power BI. But imagine if the top light blue line, or the first and second, the first and second were connected with a line, like a vertical line. I think that would be more relevant. You would see the length of the line, and that would indicate how much it has moved from first to second. I think that would more encourage the user in the right direction than the dotted line. Dotted line is working. But if we were able to do that, like draw a vertical line, I have a feeling that would serve the same purpose and maybe even more effective. Because again, the challenge. So of course, why do people say that for categorical axis you don't have a line chart? Because people start thinking of it as a trend. And again, obviously, people who are looking at this data will understand that it's not a trend, but that's a risk, and that's why they say don't do it. So Matthias, what do you think about that? So imagine if you could have a visual like that, where you could connect these lines, the light blue and the dark blue, in a vertical line. Would you like that?
I think it wouldn't work that well. It might work if you have that line in between with different colors. So green and red, for example.
Yeah. Now, of course, I don't think that vertical line thing is doable unless it's available in a custom visual. But man, that would be such an awesome experiment to run. To do that and then just, I don't know, ask 10 or 100 people and say, hey, what do you think? Which one is better? I don't know. I have no idea what they're going to say. And because frankly, I don't know what I'm going to say. All right. Hey, Matthias,
but if you would try it by clicking around, but anyway, you saw it immediately because of this dotted line binding them together.
But part of me feels like the vertical line do the same purpose, maybe even more effectively. Like, I don't know, because I mean, so length is one of those pre-attentive attributes. Position is kind of too, so that's why it works. And you're right about that. I agree. But again, I'm wondering if that vertical line would work equally well, better, maybe worse. I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. So Matthias, man, this has been a treat. Thank you so much. And I remember you kind of asked about this and so forth. I'm glad you sent this in. And hey, the work you're doing is phenomenal. If you built this in 2 days on a data set which is not really native to you, right? I mean, you don't work in HR. I can only imagine the kind of stuff you're creating for your own company. So I think they're really lucky to have you there. Yeah, I mean, see if you can take a shot at least taking one part of your story of the work that you do for your company and share that, because I feel that would be more powerful, because again, it would have more of the story element, right? I mean, this was like a sample data set, but there you can tell us a little bit more about the story. So
but I'm quite happy with this one. It's not that I.
Oh, hey, I'm really glad you sent this in, because it was I had so much fun walking through this with you and hearing your thought process and hearing you talk about that stuff. So this is phenomenal. Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Woo. Man, this was awesome. Let me see. I don't know how to get out of this. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we got that. Okay, so folks on the phone, if you have sent in dashboard, or well, even if you have one ready and you can share your screen and so forth, go right ahead. But let's check in on YouTube. Let's see some comments here. Carl is saying, can you comment on the top left summary data? Top left. Yeah, I think this was this one. So you heard me talk about that. I generally like that. I like big bold numbers. I put them here. Sometimes I put them here. Sometimes I put them here. Sometimes I even put them right here. Of course, there is sometimes debate about the title. So if you think about it, the title is these are non-data pixels, right? So they're not communicating any data. Well, kind of, they're slightly informational, but so I don't know. I mean, sometimes I do put the title here, but I try to keep the title kind of light. Sometimes I try to put it somewhere else. I wouldn't go too much into that, but yeah, the high level numbers I definitely love. I put them kind of front and center bold. When I like that, Carl is saying I would not have the numbers change when you choose a filter. Hey Carl, what's tell me more about that? So that's the default, right? I mean, I think anybody using Power BI would kind of expect that. I'm not sure what you meant by if somebody clicks a filter, the numbers should change. I mean, I know my users generally would throw a fit if they clicked on something and the numbers didn't. Like, Avi, you said Power BI is interactive. Okay, let's see what's going on YouTube. So Charles, Carl, sorry. If you have some thoughts on that, would love to hear.
Do you mind if I unmute?
Yeah. All right, we can hear you. So tell me about that. What did you mean by that one?
So if have you still got, do you still control the Power BI board or not? Are you just seeing a visual, not the Power
it's just
BI?
the visual. Yeah, you have to.
So when he chose like east or west,
yeah,
these numbers were not changing; they were just grayed out. So
like the numbers at the top.
Yeah, so no, the 35, 30, 46, and 38, even though 38 was highlighted on the kind of filter that he had, it still showed the other numbers. So to me, you would want the bold numbers at the top to represent the total, and you're just highlighting the 38 of the total.
So you want the total to not change.
Sometimes when you do a dashboard, you don't want the high-level numbers to ever change. Because that's a summary of the whole report, not a summary of the graph.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense. And I think it doesn't quite apply in this scenario, but I totally understand the scenario you're talking about. So, folks, what Carl is saying is that, again, sometimes you show like overall performance, and sometimes I label it that way. Like this, like for example, I might have something which shows full year performance, right? So it maybe has full year actuals for the months that have transpired, so from now till August, and then it uses the forecast for the remaining months, and it shows you full year, and it's always showing you the full year, right? So this part is not supposed to change. And then in the display, I might have months, and somebody might select June, July, whatever, range or something, and I don't want my full year thing to change at all. This used to be really hard, and there was a hard way to do it. Of course, the easiest way to do it now is to use the what is that called? I never remember the term. Selection something. Filter. I'll get it eventually. Edit interactions. Oh, I wasn't even close. So edit interactions, and then you select the driver, and then you say, when I click something on this, then do not filter this one, right? So now I've set it to none. So now if I click on April 19th, or April 2019, then top numbers are not changing. So that's one way to do it. I'm not a huge fan of it, because frankly, edit interactions sometimes it's not intuitive. Like, you come back to 3 months later and you're trying to understand something, and it can be complicated. It takes some time to set up. Like, if you don't want anything to cross filter, then you have to go to every single visual and change that interaction. And what if, imagine, and again, BI is never done. Dashboards are never done. You're always evolving. You come in next month and you delete this guy and you add another visual there, right? And you forget to do this edit interactions thing. Guess what? It's broken now, because it doesn't filter for this, but it filters for this, and now the user is totally confused. Like, what's going on, Avi? But sometimes these numbers change, sometimes these don't change. What have you done, mate? What have you done, right? So edit interaction is a fair way. In a way, it's an easier way. But my favorite sometimes is still, I go to DAX. And so, of course, DAX, I love DAX. You can do magic. And basically in DAX, what you can do is something like, you can clear all filters, so like everything, which is basically clearing your data table, right? So in our sales and budget example, you say clear all sales, and that clears all filters, not just on our data table, but also on the lookup tables. I wouldn't go into too much detail, but trust me on that one. So you clear all filters, and then you apply filters as you want it, and then nothing can touch it, right? So, and obviously once you do that, you don't have to do this edit interactions stuff, and you can add more visuals later. You can remove visuals. Doesn't matter. I mean, it's foolproof pretty much. Pretty much, yeah. So those are the two approaches that I know. There might be others. Does that help, Carl? Is that kind of what you were talking about?
Yeah.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I think, I'm glad you brought that up, because it seems like Vinayak had the same question. So yeah, so hopefully Vinayak then answered that. All right. So let's see what's happening on YouTube. Andrzej is here. So Andrzej, let's. So I didn't see anybody else who had submitted the dashboard on the YouTube board. If you are, so let's go through the names again. If you guys are here, Andrzej is here. I know. Mayank, Mustafa, Dominique, Leo, Matthias we already covered. Muhammad Ali, Thomas Forbes we already covered. So Andrzej, let's look at yours. And COVID-19, awesome. I'm not sure what is the best order. Let's just go through and pick one that seems like the right one to start with. So these look a little bit detailed. This looks like a good dashboard. So this one is dashboard 1, dashboard 2, cases, selected country. Okay, these look great. So one thing, folks, that I talk about in the Power Pattern, and is that when you create multiple tabs, multiple pages, is to use the same pattern in them. And that really helps out the user. I mean, because otherwise, if one page looks completely different than the other one, then they have to do a lot of mental work, right? So they have to work harder to kind of make sense of the new one as they switch back and forth. So right away, I mean, kudos to Andrzej on that. That look at this. So this is dashboard 1, debts. This is dashboard 2, cases. See how alike they look, right? 1, 2. I mean, they're showing different data sets, but with the same layout. That is just brilliant. That's like a master move, right? I mean, so that's awesome. Great. So we don't have Andrzej on the phone, so I'll have to make up a story for him, right? So obviously COVID-19, we're all going through that, unprecedented times. One thing quickly I will say about that, my friends, is that maybe you're doing okay. I hope you're doing okay. I hope everybody's staying safe. Your loved ones are safe, and everything is good. You have a job, everything is going well. Or maybe it's not, right? If you're going through challenging times and it feels like you're going through a challenging time, it feels like hard sometimes, I'm going to share with you, and I mentioned the Positive Intelligence book, which, as I said earlier, is going to become the official curriculum for our mindset chapter, which I think is the secret ingredient for success in life. So this is going to become an official book, and I'm going to share something which the author, Shirzad Chamine, he's a TED Talk, he's done a TED Talk and all that stuff. You can see that here. He shares at the beginning of the book. And he says, what can we do now so that 3 years from now, we'll look back and say this is the best thing that happened to us? Right? What can we do now so that 3 years from now, we'll look back and say, wow, that's the best thing that happened to us. And you know, I don't know about your life, and I'm sure you may have experienced this too, but I remember when I was laid off from my job, right as my daughter was about to be born, that seemed like the end of the world for me. That seemed like the worst of the worst. I'm like, oh my gosh, I would never wish for this to happen to even my worst enemy. I mean, this is so brutal. But of course, now when I look back, it was the best thing that happened to me, right? But you know, I mean, what can we do now? So you don't want to wait for 5 years to get that realization. What can we do now to make it the best thing? And I don't know what your answer is going to be. And of course, you heard kind of my announcements at the beginning. For me, it's about helping more people. And of course, I talked about the scholarship idea. We're going to kick it off in the October launch we're going to have. So folks, just to tell you a little bit about that, we'll be sharing more details over email and everything. But it's gonna have limited spots because it's not just scholarship. I want to work with people on a deeper level, again at that personal level. I want to get to know you. I want to really be able to help you. So this is scholarship plus mentoring from me, and so it's going to be application based, limited spots, and we're going to start small. We've tried this a few times before. I don't think we've quite kind of nailed it because I don't think I've been able to create the kind of impact I want to create in people's lives. I want to really change their lives. If you heard me say this, Power BI is my excuse to change people's lives, right? And Power BI is my excuse to change people's lives. And with that, I want to help people who make Power BI their excuse to change the world, right? That's my goal. You know, their excuse. I'm not gonna stop anything short of that. And in a way, we're doing it already. Right? I mean, but when I hear about what my students are doing, and of course, you know, the Pro Plus, the highest level, I work closely with them. I know more about what's going on in their lives, the kind of stuff they're doing. But yeah, I mean, you saw Matthias, and of course, we've heard from Darren and all that stuff. They're already doing it, but yeah, I don't want to stop, and it's our path. Sounds kind of crazy. I mean, it's a tool, but I think it's a powerful tool. And of course, you saw Thomas's example earlier, right? I mean, helping homeless people. I mean, who else can we help? So that's a big deal. All right, so sorry I got carried away. COVID-19, but yeah, so yeah, you know, keep that attitude. So man, I mean, are we in the right one? Okay, so let's start here, and let's start with the squint test, right? So when I do the squint test, for me, this graph popped out quite a bit. And again, since we don't have Andrzej on the phone, I'll have to kind of make up the story, make some assumptions. I hope that works for you, Andrzej. Let me see. Got it. All right. So folks, Andrzej is asking about the phone. So on the phone, we have our Learn Power BI members. So if you are part of the Learn Power BI program, you have an option to join over the phone. Sometimes people do, sometimes they don't. If you want to find out more about that, just go to my website, learnpowerbi.com, and training, and look for that. So that's our main program. The goal is to get you from learning to doing. All right, so that's how you join on the phone. But all right, so again, squint test. For me, it was this one, but I don't think that's quite the intent. And usually, I like having kind of high-level numbers speak for me. They're the first thing that I present, and he does have these numbers in kind of bold, but they're not popping out. And of course, it's a bit of an art and a science. So generally, I lay them out like this. Why do I lay them out like that? Anybody knows? Is that obvious to you? You're like, yeah, of course, I know it. Well, if you didn't, then, because we scan this way. We read this way. I mean, how many books have you read since childhood? Tell me. How many books have you read? And you always read like this. Right? Man, we have read plenty of books. Even in this day of like computers. Well, we still read, right? I mean, you still read emails and everything. Every single time we're reading this way. Every single time. And so I don't think it's kind of a natural behavior. I don't think like humans go left to right. No. But it's a learned behavior, and it's deeply ingrained. So his numbers are kind of laid out vertically, which I think is doing a slight disservice to them, right? So that's why I try to lay out the numbers kind of like that at the top, because we scan this way. So again, I mean, obviously art plus science. So I mean, this is very beautifully laid out. Maybe I should have said that first. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is beautiful. So Andrzej, let me just stop before I go any further. Man, the dashboard looks just beautiful. It just, it does look like a piece of art. I mean, this is designed with a lot of care and love, and I love that. So we talk about dashboard by design versus dashboard by accident. This, you can tell right away, is not a dashboard by accident. And again, I mean, a dashboard is never done, right? I mean, BI is always changing. The customer's requirements change, their business changes, and of course, you learn more. Every time I look back to the dashboards I've done a month ago, 3 months ago, a year ago, or the models that I've created, I go, why did I do it that way? I mean, because I know more. That's the journey. That's awesome. Let's enjoy it. But this one is a piece of art. So this is beautiful. But yeah, let's see if I'm going to give kind of my feedback to see if, and again, take it with a pinch of salt. It's not right or wrong. It's not Avi's way or highway. Just understand the underlying principles and then make a conscious decision. Dashboard by design, not by accident, right? So I lay it out this way because I scan this way. So I feel like there's a slight disservice by laying them out vertically. But again, I mean, he may say that, that's what works in my layout. Again, understanding the trade-offs. And I think this piece of information is not as important. So again, I mean, we scan, if we ignore the left to right scanning, we scan from top to bottom. Top to bottom. So think about this, right? I mean, right now, this is telling me, human brain, that this is more important than any of this that comes later. Which I know is not true, right? So if that's not true, let's not give that clue to the user. So, and look at this. I mean, this updated thing is so small, but then the last day is so big. I don't think it needs to be that big. So maybe these can be kind of side to side, like updated this, last day this. By the way, by this as well, I can see that Andrzej is a pro, mate, because this is one thing that I have used, and it took me a while to realize the importance of this. So let's pause this for a second, and we're going to go down a tangent here. We're not talking about visualization. We're going to talk about the specific element on the graph, right? So notice it has two things. Now, I don't know, maybe you find it confusing, maybe you don't, right? So let's stop here. and it has two separate things. It has updated, and man, I love it how it has a timestamp, right? I love that. And it has this last day. So I'll tell you my story. Andrzej's in here, so you gotta listen to mine. Is that I would be working with sales team, and believe it or not, this was in Microsoft. They would get like their January data in March. I'm not kidding, guys. I'm not kidding. I mean, we worked with a third-party vendor, so what they did was they collected the data in their own system, and then they sent the data to us, the January data, in February, and then it flowed through our internal systems, and then it was available to people in March, right? So that's what they were living with. And of course, it's kind of like the dog that's sitting on a nail, and it doesn't move because it's going to hurt to move. So you make peace with the nail, right? So that's how, unfortunately, sometimes our lives are. So they were kind of okay with it because they didn't know any better. It's like, oh yeah, this is how it works. They send this data in February and we get it in March, and yeah, so March we're looking at January numbers. And then I walk in and we changed everything. We changed it to a daily report. And they were getting like every day. And yeah, they loved it. But BI is a never-ending thing because that once you have that sets the bar. So what would happen to me was that they were happy initially, but then they would come to me. It's like, Avi, hey man, I checked the report. It doesn't have yesterday's data. Avi, I checked the report. It's 2 days old. What's happening? And I'm like, guys, come on. You used to wait until March to get January's data, right? And it's 2 days old, and you keep whatever. So and of course, almost every time I would check in, what was happening was our vendor was sending the data through some format, FTP or whatever, and they hadn't sent the data. It wasn't my fault. There was nothing that I could do. I wanted to communicate this to the user, and that's when I figured out how to do this. So I would feel that Andrzej is kind of a veteran, like no rookie coming out of a class or a training course. I don't know, it'll be a weird training course if they talk about this because this is so specific. Yeah, so this is somebody who has been around, right? So I did the exact same thing. I would show them the date that I updated the report, not myself, of course, through an automated refresh. So I would say, hey, look, the report refresh ran this morning, and then I would say, oh, but I only have data till 2 days ago. And then I trained them. I don't know, maybe put a comment there and say, hey, if this is old, contact the vendor. Here's their email address. Please email them and ask them, right? So whatever, right? So that was that's the thing behind that. So side story, we're back to our visualization dashboard here. But man, I mean, Andrzej, I'm a fan, mate. Just to see this, it rekindled so many of the good memories. I really did enjoy working in Microsoft. And trust me, guys, I mean, that was a hard decision to leave that job because, I don't know, I mean, sometimes I hear people like, oh, I want to quit my job. I hate it. I loved my job. I loved the team that I was working with. I'm still in touch with a lot of them, and yeah, they are amazing. They were amazing. All right, cool. So that's a pro move. But yeah, so I think minimize this one a little bit because it's not that important. And then these ones are good. Can they be put vertically? Maybe, right? And of course, so again, dashboard by design or dashboard by accident. As I said, man, this is definitely dashboard by design. So the use of colors. So notice that this is dashboard 1, that's, and it's kind of this shade of pink, shade of red, and what's the next one? Oh, what's happening? Why isn't it going? Oh, there we go. Right. So this is cases, and that's purple. Right. So that's pink, purple, and of course this piece of information stays static on both. And it's color coded, so there's no confusion, right? So this one is cases, that one is debts, and in one you see the details for debts, in the other you see details for cases. Now, of course, what I'll say is that so again, there's no right or wrong, but again, you understand the principles and you make conscious decisions. That's the only thing that I ask you. So earlier, when we were speaking with Matthias, we talked about the importance of putting all the data on one page. And we talked about data to insight and all that sort of stuff. And I made a joke of, imagine putting sales on one page and budget on the other page and then expecting humans to find the correlations. So here, it's beautifully designed and it can have a specific purpose, but imagine if the purpose was to understand the correlation between deaths and cases, then these two dashboards do not help humans do that, right? It was just near impossible, right? So, and obviously you can imagine a different dashboard, and maybe Andrzej has it because he sent me quite a few screenshots. Maybe there's a separate dashboard which helps the humans correlate kind of deaths. Actually, you know what? There are a few elements here, but text is we're pretty bad at correlating text. We're not good, So imagine if it was like a graph or something like that, or other measures. Like if we so imagine you can show sales and budget on the same graph, but you can also show variance or percentage variance. So in the same way, we can show kind of the cases and deaths on the same graph, or we can show percentage of deaths, like for every 100 people infected, what was the percentage of death? And then, of course, you can take that measure and blow it up and say, hey, how has it trended over time? How does it vary over country? Are some countries worse than the other? And that it becomes such a rich information. So again, I'm not saying like there's anything wrong with this, but again, you make those decisions consciously. So Andrzej is making us all look bad, especially me, because I just read his comment. He's saying this is his first big Power BI report. I have a feeling, Andrzej, come on, man. I mean, you must have done a lot of small ones. That's what I'm going to go with, right? So, okay, he's saying there's country trends at the bottom, which both cases and deaths graphs on one page. So bingo, right? So he's one step ahead of me. I was thinking that he's already done it, but again, I hope you understood that, you saw that right away. So obviously Andrzej did, right? So, but I wanted to call it out to everybody else as well. So again, the color coding is brilliant. This one is deaths. So we already talked about the high level numbers. I will say that the bones of this dashboard are beautiful. So I always talk about high level numbers, and again, I generally put them on top, and then breakdown, trends, and then a little bit of detail. And usually I go in that order. So what do you see here? So this is kind of controversial. I mean, usually column charts and bar charts, I think of them as breakdowns, but the axis here is time, which to me means trends. And of course, it is stacked by country, which is also breakdowns, right? So this one, I can't make up my mind. I mean, it's done something, but this one is clear. So this one is really, this is a breakdown, right? So you take the total deaths per, and this one is slightly different, 100K people, but you see this is a breakdown by country. And of course, this one is a trend, right? So these ones are simple. Breakdown, trend. Breakdown, trend. So hopefully you're getting that, right? Map, yeah, I mean, so again, maps are sometimes probably the most abused elements. People use maps when they really shouldn't. I think in this case makes sense, just kind of give you a overall view and so forth. And of course there's this detail here, and of course, man, this is like just brilliant. And of course in the detail he has this pop-up thing going on where if you hover over that, you see more detail about that country, right? So that is just brilliant, and you can't see it in an interactive way, but I can tell from the screenshot that that's how it's working. It's like if you hover over this, you see a lot more details about that specific country, in this case Argentina, right? So that's all awesome. Some things that I might change, or again kind of food for thought, is this layout. So again, I usually do high level numbers and then breakdowns, trends, and then detail, because detail, like a table is detail. And again, we talked about this tables, our whole mode in the way we process the table changes. And again, there's a little bit of color coding that would help, but table is very serial processing, right? It's not the parallel computer or the pre-attentive processing. So usually I save the detail for last, because I give them the good stuff which they can easily absorb, and then they want more details. That, oh, cool, right? I mean, so it should, maybe ideally it should work like this. Like you look at this and then you go, wow, Belgium is really high. I want to see details for Belgium. They may not even see details for everything. They might click on Belgium and then look at details, right? So you get the idea. So I usually keep the details for last. So I don't know. I feel like this graph is simpler and more powerful, way more powerful than this one, right? I mean, this graph is telling me a story, right? A story of obviously the pandemic going worldwide, and then how the world is containing it. Then maybe your initial efforts were good, but man, we're struggling a little bit because it keeps kind of coming back up, right? So there's a powerful story here. I love it. So I would put this at the top. And again, if I look at this one, for one, it has a lot of detail. I mean, it's kind of a trend with time, and I can kind of see that with the graphs, but it's a breakdown as well. And yeah, so the stacked graphs are a little bit challenging. So the story with the stacked graph is the bottom bar is far more important than anything else, because this is the only one that we can visually compare, again, with that pre-attentive processing without looking at each specific number, right? I mean, I could read this 1, 3, 2, 4, but this one we can pre-attentively process just by the length, but everything else we can't. And in this one, I must say kudos to Andrzej, is that I think he has singled out Brazil. My assumption would be he has singled out Brazil because it has the most number of deaths. Again, that's the conclusions that I'm drawing. If it's the right conclusion, then he's spot on. If that's not the conclusion he wanted me to draw, then it needs some change, right? But that's what I'm going to go with. So, and he's highlighting Brazil. So maybe that's the story here, right? So he's saying, boy, Brazil, kind of, yeah, right. I mean, has the most cases. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I'm getting out of this. But I still feel like this is a little bit busy, so I would save it for later. So again, you give them the high-level simple stuff and then gradually go into more detail. So I would give them the high-level numbers, give them maybe some breakdowns, some trends, and start showing kind of more detail. So that's the only thing that I would change. But yeah, I must say this is a pretty sophisticated one. So that's per 100K people. So this is good. And think about it. So Matthias, we were reviewing the HR dashboard earlier. And we talked about not the visualization, but we talked a little bit about the calculation of it. And at least I was having some friction against the fact that he seemed to be like summing things up, which like if there were minus, like 5 negative reviews, it became -5. Because that's so imagine if one department had 100 people and the other had 10, and you took all the negative reviews and summed them up. I mean, this one might have -78 and this one a -3, but I can't compare them, right? I cannot compare them, and that's what Andrzej is doing here. So comparing just the number of deaths is in a way unfair. It doesn't tell you the whole story, right? But when you do per 100K people, now you've kind of normalized it. Now you can compare it apples to apples, right? So that one is brilliant. Comment on the phone?
Sorry, you can actually normalize this also. So I definitely can compare a department with 38 and one with 10 people with my method. No problem.
Yeah, but not by counting.
I have a maximum value. I have a maximum value, which I can achieve with 38. And if I'm down from it, I know exactly how far I am away from the maximum.
But that is the other measure, right? That's the -0.4 number.
That is definitely a measure which I have.
Yeah, that's right. So you're right about that. So that measure, -0.4, and the other ones with that, they were apples to apples. So yeah, I should have caveated that. But imagine if you didn't have that, if you're only showing the numbers, then it wouldn't have worked. So to backtrack a bit, that's where I started. But of course, then I understood more about your dashboard, so I picked the other one up. So you're right. Your dashboard did have the right one, but I was using that as an example of that. Got it. So. But again, folks, you get the idea, right? Again, that number of deaths can be high. Like a small country would obviously have a smaller number of deaths, but when you do kind of per 100K, it kind of normalizes. And then Matthias is right. I mean, he had that normalized number as well, which was the overall kind of rating. But boy, I mean, again, kind of beautiful. I feel really happy and privileged in that I get to do this, man. I mean, obviously, in conscious and subconscious ways, this is gonna inspire me, I'm sure. So this is, oh God, I can't even get over it. This is brilliant. And again, I talked about the pattern. So the cases one, is laid out in the exact same pattern, which is brilliant, right? Because once you have absorbed this one, you don't have to work anything at all to absorb this layout. Like once you understand this layout, you automatically understand this one. So obviously we're not going to go through this, but of course I'll also call out his use of bookmarks here to kind of switch through debts and cases. So that's yeah, bookmarks. I think sometimes they're overused and abused, and people use them in the wrong stage. So again, generally bookmarks, I would say don't use them too early in your project, because if you go with the agile approach, you don't know what's coming next. You don't know what the customer, the feedback would be say. So you can spend 10 hours fixing up your bookmarks, and then the customer says, oh, no, this is not right, you know? So yeah, but once the dashboard is matured, that's when I usually bring in bookmarks. Sometimes earlier, depending on the case, but this one, you know, just makes it easier to kind of navigate debts and cases. All right, cool. Let's look at some of the other stuff. So this one, oh, he's showing the details. So obviously, so if I think Iran is selected in this case, I'm not really sure. Oh yeah, so I think Iran is selected, and Andrzej, I don't know what to say, mate. I mean, so guys, you can sometimes, yeah, this is really good. So let's look at some of the other stuff. So this is specific, kind of top 10 countries by number of cases per 100K people. Top 10 countries by number of debts per 100K. And again, he has that pop-up thing going on. That's great. Is that okay? Cool. Oh, and then I frankly don't quite understand the health security index. I've not seen that, but yeah, seems to be another way to kind of compare countries on a regular one. Oh, I love this one. So I do have a video on my site where I talked about the day zero kind of graph. And I mean, frankly, I did this for day zero? I don't know. Let's see if we can find it. Oh, yeah. So,
how can you create graphs like...
So I had done this for sales numbers. So we could compare sales side by side. And the challenge that we had was that different products were launched at different points. And if you do it by time, then you know, so look at that graph, right? I mean, that graph, you can't read, right? I mean, oh gosh, what's happening? Oh, I need to pause it. Yeah, so good luck trying to figure out what are our best products in this graph. But once you change it to the day zero kind of graph, then it's very clear, right? Then you see, yep, these are hitting it out of the park, these are doing well, and these are not doing that great, right? So that's the power of day zero graph. So yeah, check that out on my channel if you like. But that's what he has used, and yeah, you can see it works in this, but again, it works in kind of business scenarios as well. Oh god. All right, great. So we're gonna wrap this up. Let's see if Andrzej's so yeah, it's a tooltip. Yep. So I think LK was asking about that. So this one is a tooltip, and you basically create a separate kind of a page in your report. Specifies that a tooltip connected with the field you wanted a tooltip for. Oh yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm confusing two of those things. Yeah, this one is tooltip. Great. So Andrzej, awesome, mate. So thank you for sharing this. And again, the good stuff is, as I talked about, kind of the dashboard, right? You got to do good work and tell great stories. Now, this coronavirus thing is great, and of course, Matthias' HR dashboard is great. But of course, so folks, so I work with this group of Pro Plus members, and you know, I showed them in the About Us page. You can see the small group, and we have a very specific goal. We are driven to get that life of control, basically control to freedom, and the path that we're choosing is the path of entrepreneurship, or really the word that I like is solopreneurship. That's at least my style. I don't want to build a company of 30, 300, 3,000, whatever people. I want to run a small operation with a big impact, and that's very possible. But have that life of control and freedom. So we have that specific path, and and this is a key element there. But we combine it with other elements. And one other element we combine this with is our focus and niche. So for example, imagine I had worked with like kind of sales and finance people quite a bit. If I made that my focus and I said I help people in sales and finance, usually the more specific you can get, the better, right? So you can say, oh, I help financial analysts, right, who are creating a monthly report and taking a week to create a monthly report. Every month they spend 1 week creating that report. I can help you, right? So you get that specific, and then you build your story around them, right? So hopefully take this as practice, but then you got to start building a story around your focus and niche, and you build on that and build on that. And again, the idea is that how is your life going to change? And again, this has nothing to do with employee or consultant. How is your life going to change if one person knows about your story, that story, right, that you're going to create? If it's going to be 10 people, 100, 1,000, 10,000, I mean, you realize that your life is going to change, right? And again, nothing about employee or consultant, right? Yeah, and you know, so what does it look like? Well, what it looks like is if you're in the employee track, then, well, frankly, when I was an employee at Microsoft, even when I was having the best of my years doing Power BI, I was still afraid every time the layoffs came. But I know people who, well, I mean, they don't really get laid off, but even if they were, they would have like 5 jobs waiting for them. People knocking at the door. People like, oh my God, I'm glad they laid you off. You know, we can have you. Their loss is our gain, right? So that's the life of control. The life of control is you walk in an interview and the person says, oh, I think I've seen you somewhere. So either they may already know you, or like, oh my God, you know, you're this and this. I've seen something, you know, I've heard your story or something like that. Or they say, I think I've kind of seen you. And you say, yep, you know, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I share about, I help finance people with that. And I often talk about that, and you might have come across that. Something like that, right? So you got to connect those two. Your focus and niche, build a story around that, and rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. And every time you do it, you're going to get better and better. Great. So I don't think we have, let's see, Carl is saying, Gil Raviv, he has on Data Chat has a good tutorial on building a COVID-19 dashboard. I think Carl also has a question, and he's asking, what are the pros and cons of using tabs to navigate versus just clicking right for the next page? That's a good question. I think Carl's question is specific around PowerBI.com. Well, I don't know. I'm not... if I were to think of it, I mean, obviously right and left just take you in order, which can be good or bad. Right? So if your order is intentional, like usually my first sheets are like high level and then they go in more detail and so forth. So if it's intentional, then right and left things are great. But of course with tabs, they can jump around and they can say, oh, I need this. I need to look at the clients and programs, and they just jump on that and so forth. So I think there's a space for both. Microsoft kind of allows for a space of both. Frankly, I don't even remember how the like the PowerBI.com, I don't know, the look has changed. So that's kind of my take on that. Awesome. Great. So how's that then for me? So guys, you know, going back to the announcement we were talking about, the 100,000 feet, where's that thing? So what planted this idea of this crazy goal was that I started hiking. I don't know how many of you know that story. I wouldn't go to the whole thing, but I started last year and I felt I was not ready for it. and then something happened and I kind of started on it. And then at the end of the year last year, I had this crazy idea in my head to climb or hike 100,000 feet in elevation gain. And I was still a new hiker, relatively. And hey, Sahil, good to have you back on, man. So it sounded like a crazy goal. I didn't think I could do it, but that's the thing about, they talk about the BHAG, right? The big, hairy, audacious goals. You set something and then you move towards it, right? and yeah, so I think by now I have climbed 64,000 feet. I still have a long way to go. The brilliant thing that I did was I tied it with a charity that I believe in, which is Operation Smile. You may not know, but one of my front teeth is a fake tooth. I had lost my tooth and my smile for just a few days. And it was one of the worst experiences of my life. I mean, it changed me. It changed my personality. I mean, I don't, yeah, I mean, yeah, it was hard, right? I mean, I didn't feel the same. I was far less confident, and I was actually visiting a client, imagine, with that broken tooth, and it just felt horrible. So Operation Smile helps those with a cleft lip. So I could at least hide my broken tooth. I could not smile, but they can't do anything to hide it. And I'm like, wow, if that was hard for me for a few days, I don't know what they go through. So I made a goal to climb 100,000 feet and donate $1,000 to them as I go along. So for every 100 feet, donate $1. So of course I've donated $640 so far. Plan to complete the 100,000 feet. Plan to donate the $1,000. But again, the August vacation, there was something really powerful, and you can hear the whole story, or at least a little bit of that on my other YouTube channel. But yeah, we're gonna scale it up. So yeah, I might not stay too long because I gotta go hiking. So to meet 100,000 feet for the year, I have to go hiking every week. And if I miss a week, then I have to kind of double hike to do a taller hike or something, like more elevation gains other weeks. So I try not to miss a week because then it becomes really hard. And because of the COVID-19 thing, I've been avoiding weekends, so I go on a weekday, which has had a nice side effect, which has also meant that generally I am working 4-day work week. Now, you may have heard about it, but apparently Microsoft did this experiment in Japan for a 4-day work week, which is interesting because obviously Japanese, not to kind of stereotype them, but as far as I understand, that they seem to have this culture of working really, really long hours, being very dedicated to a job and so forth. So it was interesting that they ran an experiment there. And of course, what they saw was that the productivity went up. Working less lets you do more. Who would have thought? Well, I kind of knew. Right. So of course, since I left Microsoft, I've had these coaches around me, and one of my coaches has a saying: "The less I work, the more I make," and that is so powerful. But again, it's one of those things you got to remind yourself about that. Kind of every time. So anyway, the side effect of my 100,000 feet hiking has been that I generally take one weekday off, go hiking. So yeah, I wasn't able to do it this week. I was coming back from vacation in August. So I was catching up something. So that hiking day is today. But let's see if we can have some fun. Maybe look at a few other dashboards. Vinayak, thank you so much. Thanks for kind words. Let's go back. And yeah, I don't know which one seems interesting. Let's see what Mayank has. Ooh, it's got quite a bit. I'm looking for an easy one. And let's see. Oh, interesting. Yeah, he's got this Hope 19 dashboard. What else? Frankly, I mean, obviously I care about the current situation, but I love business, and I love helping businesses. Let's see, maybe some of these. Oh, okay. Let's do this one, DevOps. All right, DevOps. quick story. So I studied programming in my college, and my dream was to become, well, I thought that if I'm good, then I'll start as like a junior programmer. If I'm not good, then maybe I'll start as a tester. I mean, who wants to be a tester? And then I'll, tester, junior programmer, programmer, senior programmer, project lead, ooh, right? And then project manager. And that was like the ultimate goal. It's like, yep, that's awesome. Once I become project manager, that's it, right? That's everything. I couldn't see beyond that, and I never really got started on that developer journey. Ended up working kind of more in kind of a business role, but always combined it with the tech, and I've enjoyed that kind of balance, business plus tech. So I'm glad for that. So DevOps. So cool. Let's start. So so these folks are developers. They're working on well, you have a specific goal for the next project release, features. You're working on different items, and maybe you're working on creating new features, or you're working on just fixing bugs. But then that's the life, right? So let's do a squint test, and I would say this one is a problem right away because there's nothing that popped up for me. So again, guys, dashboard by design or dashboard by accident. And one of the things that I mentioned was, if everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority, right? I mean, there was one manager who would assign us a lot of task items, and then we would say, well, what's the priority? Like, which one should I focus on first? And they're like, they're all P0, right? Not even P1. Like P0, they're all important. I'm like, well, if everything is important, then guess what? Nothing is important. So I think this one is a bit of the same challenge. Like, everything is the same. It's the same size, so it's not popping out. You want the high level numbers to pop out, right? So of course, my favorite way. I use cards or multi-row cards, and I put them bang on the top. You can't go anywhere because, again, the eye is scanned in this manner. So this, I would say, think about what's the most important numbers. Are they buried in this report? I don't know, total work items, total effort, something like that. Put them up there. And of course, sometimes you can put like those numbers, but you can go deeper and make it more actionable. For example, you can show sales versus budget, but then you can also compare it year over year as a percentage, or of course compare sales over budget or something like that. And you can get a little bit deeper. So think about that. That of course depends on the subject area. So yeah, squint test, I would say this one can be improved there. It does have a nice clean look. The other thing that I would comment on is this shading. And again, what are we designing? Are we designing cockpit dashboards? Like you go walk into a plane and man, it's like fancy and right and maybe that's where the word dashboard comes from, but let's not take it literally, right? So you don't have to make it look like a dashboard, like dials and gauges and kind of shades and stuff. This one is different because operational reports have a purpose. They're here to serve the humans. They're here to highlight the data and help the human go from data to insight. So what does Stephen Few say? Well, he says, take the non-data pixels and either eliminate or de-emphasize them. So this shading here, is it data or non-data? Well, this one is clear. This one is non-data. So again, I would encourage you to say, do I really need that? I mean, what if I eliminated it? Would it let my data, what can I do to have my data shine more rather than these other effects? So again, it's kind of your call. But at least if you're making the decision to do this, should be a conscious decision. It's like, okay, I understand that this is not very effective using my screen real estate, but I'm choosing to do it because whatever, right? Some reason. And hopefully it's not like, because my client likes it or something. It's our job to educate the client, and at some point you're going to have to become better at that. It's a little bit of a skill. You don't want to throw it in the face. You don't want to say, you don't know anything. You're an idiot. You can't tell them about, frankly, most of the clients. I don't think I would ever talk to them about this data and non-data pixel. I would just communicate it slightly differently, right? Maybe I'll say that we want you to focus on the data so you can get to the insights quicker. And that's why I'm going to remove the background and edges so data becomes a star. So again, the tech jargon, data, non-data pixel, that's between us. With them, I'll try to say something which they would understand. It's like, So that's the one thing. So make something important, high-level numbers, the non-data pixels remove. Otherwise, it has. So again, what do we do in the power pattern? We do high-level numbers, we do breakdown and trends, and we do a little bit of detail, right? So this one has breakdowns, quite a lot of them, by state and impact score, state and importance, by request type, impact, importance. This doesn't have trends. And again, this could be a conscious choice, and that's okay if it was. But generally, I try to kind of weave it together. And again, we talked about the importance of putting everything on a single dashboard, single screen. It's important. Why? It's important for humans. Because when we go from screen to screen, we can't hold on to that much information. Only about 7 to 10 pieces of information, right? So not 7 to 10 numbers, 7 to 10 pieces of information. So if you show breakdown on one page and trends on the other, guess what? We can't correlate it, right? But if you put it on the same page, well, then not only can we correlate it, but with the magic of Power BI, we can drill and analyze, right? So I can say, I see the trend over here month by month. Ooh, I wonder, if I click on high, what has been the trend for high importance items, right? What has been the trend for, something like that. So you get the idea, right? I mean, you can kind of do things like that. So that makes it really powerful. So that's the other thing that I would, have you consider that, hey, can we show some trends? Because it has a lot of breakdowns, not trends, doesn't have that, right? Pie chart and whatever, the gauge chart is generally frowned upon by Stephen Few. I'll just leave it at that. I mean, if you're using it, understand what is a trade-off. So again, generally the goal of visualization is to convey information in an effective manner in as less space as possible, right? So if a visual takes a whole page to convey that information and another visual can convey the same information as or more effectively in a smaller space, guess what? That's a better visual, that's a better choice. So pie charts and this gauge chart are usually wasteful in that. They're actually not as effective in communicating information. Frankly, so imagine this. So, so these labels are like crutches, right? So imagine if I removed this one, right? And I asked people to guess what this number is. I'll tell you, they're going to be, it's going to be hard work, right? So it's not easy, right? So, and the same thing with pie chart. I mean, people are really bad at kind of guessing this. And what makes it worse is that they don't realize how bad they are. They think they can read it, but they can't because humans can't. It's a brain. It's not about how smart you are or something, right? So, whereas other attributes like length, position, those are pre-attentive. I mean, even our brain doesn't step in. I mean, even before it hits your brain, you kind of already know it, right? So, so understand the principles behind it. Understand that, these are not as effective in communicating information. Other visuals are far more effective because they use pre-attentive attributes, and they take a lot of space, right? So they are bad in both ways. They're not as effective, take a lot of space. So that's the reason. So watch out for that. Make sure it's a conscious decision. And tags, word map. Yep, yeah, sure. And I kind of like it that it's at the end because it's kind of a heavy visual. There's no kind of direct. I mean, you do want to save it in the right spot. So, all right. So that's kind of my quick feedback on this. I think this was Mayank. So Mayank, thank you for sending this in. So guys, we're gonna call it a day. I'm gonna head out hiking. I haven't picked out a hike yet, but since it's a half day, it's probably gonna be somewhere closer. So we had 2 hot days in Seattle, and my parents are in India. So when I tell them we had a hot day, the conversation always goes the same way. So I would say, it was really hot. It was 90 degrees Fahrenheit. And then, of course, I have to convert it to Celsius for them. And then I say, it was like 32 or 33 or 31. And they would say, oh, my God, that's not hot. Because for them, it's like 40 degrees. That's hot. So, but yeah, for us Seattleites, we're used to mild weather. So we had 2 hot days. Today is a little bit colder. It's in 80s. But I'm still hoping to go to Mason Lake. Actually, I don't know if you guys care, but let's do... I've been to Mason Lake before, but I did not take a dip. It seemed so inviting. I saw people taking a dip, but I didn't have time on that day. It's So this is, I don't know where this is from. Oh, this is On the Way, Mountain. Yeah, so this is the lake. Yeah, so I might do that. All right, guys. Hey, this was a blast. I am so glad to be back. But if you read my email and watched that Power On Now video, I'm definitely glad that I took the month off. And the message for me to you is, I'm not saying that everybody needs to take a month off. Obviously, next year I'm planning to take 3 months off. It's not about that. That is symbolic. But I do want you to understand the underlying message. The underlying message is to break out of that rule, the bullshit rule that gets programmed into us. That we get results, we create impact, we earn money by working harder. And just the one example I'm gonna use is that I looked back at all of my performance reviews, and there were some good years, there were some average years, there were some bad years, but it didn't matter. Every single time I had a single digit raise, right? I mean, I think one year was negative, and sometimes it was zero, but I mean, whatever, 3%, 2%, 5%, something like that. But in business, if you're an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, it's not unheard of to double your revenue, right? 2x it, 5x it, 10x it, right? And certainly over a few years. How are you going to do that? Are you going to work twice as hard? Is that the way to double your revenue? What if you wanted to 10x your revenue? I mean, you see how it breaks down, right? I mean, it's no longer true. And the funny thing is that it's not even true in an employee path. It is not even true in the employee path. And the quicker you realize it, the faster you can get the results you're really looking for. Except, kind of chasing down this path, which gives you the same, right? I mean, you get some result and like, oh, okay, now I want this and I got to work even harder, right? And it's just not true. It's just a bullshit rule. So that's kind of my message. Well, that's my journey to kind of get there. But yeah, I mean, of course, I know one of the side effects of taking this time off is that it lets me disconnect, look at the big picture, think about what's really important for me. And again, I keep coming back to this. For me, it's about the people, right? So in a way, that month was a vacation, but it wasn't a vacation in the sense that, I mean, you guys are always with me. You guys are always on my mind. Then I'm thinking about you, like, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? But stepping away gives me that space to kind of think out of the box, think what I'm really passionate, think about the results that I want to create for all of you. And we're gonna, and I'm all about agile approach, beta this and beta that. We're gonna test things out, see how it works. So again, the Power BI scholarship, that's gonna open in October. So general enrollment to learn Power BI is gonna open, but we're gonna also offer the scholarship, and it's gonna have limited spots. It's not just about scholarship; it's about mentorship as well. Direct mentoring from me, because again, I want to create that impact. Power BI is my excuse to change your life, so that you can then change the world. So I'm happy and I'm blessed and I'm thankful to all of you for being part of this. All right, power on, guys.